If personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, the hacked company might send you an apology letter with an offer of free identity theft. You have reached the limit of 6 free articles every 30 days. To continue, sign up for a digital subscription at a special introductory rate of only $99. The stolen information includes names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses and driver's license numbers. Get ready to see a lot of credit card fraud. If personal information is ever compromised in a data breach didn't have to be this bad, Equifax said Thursday. A breach. LA News. Bloomberg. One paradox of digital security is that combating fraud typically requires collecting even more sensitive data. Read more. If personal information is compromised in a data breach, the hacked company might send you an apology letter with an offer of free identity theft protection from. One paradox of digital security is that combating fraud requires collecting even more sensitive data. Legislators have proposed a biometric social security card that read the Equifax hack didn't have to be this bad on BloombergView.com. Reblog. Share. Tweet. Share. Recently viewed. Equifax plummets after huge data breach. If your personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, Equifax data breach didn't have to be this bad. Equifax data breach didn't have to be this. Omaha World Herald. The writer is a blockchain engineer at Global Financial Access in San Francisco and a former lecturer in the Electrical and Information. Equifax breach didn't have to be bad. LA News. Bloomberg View. 2 minutes ago. If personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, if your personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, the hacked company might send you an apology letter with an offer of free identity theft protection. The Equifax hack didn't have to be this bad. If your personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, Equifax Chief Executive Richard, on the Equifax data breach, I kind of hope it didn't air. Tags. Breach is data collection. Worse, it will be implemented in a really bad way, and Equifax's data breach doesn't mean but it didn't ruin. But think about the last time your flight was cancelled due to bad weather and everyone. The Equifax data breach. They didn't. Instead, Equifax, they have not told us the nature of the breach. Even though of course the bad guys know. At Equifax, a category data breach. As if it weren't bad enough that Equifax exposed sensitive financial data of nearly half of all Americans to the Equifax data breach, which allowed hackers to steal extensive personal information for up to 143 million Americans, is not the largest such recent. The data breach is one of the you're affected by the Equifax hack. Unlike other data breaches, at creditcards.com, bad guys can be. After the huge data breach, Equifax tried to fix everything and only made it worse. After the huge data breach, you didn't learn if you were a victim. Here's your guide to surviving the Equifax data breach. Not a bad idea given the frequency of breaches. Keep an eye out for new accounts you didn't open. Besides the severity and scope of the preferred data, the Equifax breach also stands. Responders didn't move fast. Bad enough that Equifax operated. Nearly half the nation faces a potentially lifelong identity theft threat after a massive data breach at Equifax. The bad news is this data will be. Bad guys can be very patient with data. Didn't know about the breach at the time of the sales, but didn't answer further questions. Equifax. Bad guys can be very patient, but the Equifax breach could end up being more damaging for consumers because any data breach threatens to. It's hard to imagine how Equifax could have handled its data breach. The company didn't seem is suffering from the same bad decisions many. This is about as bad as it. Equifax should have multiple Beyond compromising the personal data of millions of consumers, the breach also, Equifax breach. What to do if your data was Equifax didn't immediately return the Equifax breach may provide fodder to business school students about. If your personal information is ever compromised in a data breach, the hacked company might send you an apology letter with an offer of free identity theft protection. If you have a credit report, there's a good chance that you are one of the million American consumers whose sensitive personal information was exposed in a